button this time because it really bucked us when we didn't hit record last time.
It was me.
It was you. Now be quiet. All Elite family, let's get ready to podcast. Welcome back, All Elite family, to another episode of the All Elite podcast. I am your host, Andrew Kazir, and as always, I'm joined by my boy, Bitter Mark, anime fan, All Elite AJ. AJ, how are things going?
I'm doing alright. I'm gonna go to Walmart after this and buy hurricane supplies.
Oh, a hurricane supply?
Stand back!
Oh, stand back! There's a hurricane coming through.
Jane Holmes is coming to murder me, and I have to get water.
Oh, well, AJ, I honestly hope everything's going to be alright. You said that it's only a tropical storm. You're just over-exaggerating everything right now, so hopefully...
For sure.
Hopefully everything turns out alright, but hey, you can never be too prepared for something like that. I also have something that I need to get prepared for this upcoming day. I've got All Out. I'm on my way to StarCast this weekend. Got a whole bunch of meet and greets that I'm going to. Super stoked for all of that. We also actually recorded this episode of the podcast yesterday, but we didn't hit the record button. So this is going to be a bit more of a quick run-through of basically the news, and then we'll give our input on the match card, and then that's basically everything we have to cover this week.
Yeah, but it was a great podcast. Cody Rhodes was here.
We had Cody, we had the Young Bucks, Moxley, and AJ just didn't hit record, so... Yeah. Next week, hopefully we'll have everybody back. But speaking of Jon Moxley, we have some unfortunate news, or Moxley had unfortunate news for the wrestling community this week when he announced that there would be no Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega match. He happened to have a serious case of MRSA, or staph infection, in his elbow, and because of that, he's unable to compete on August 31st at All Out. This was a really disappointing thing for me as someone who's going to the show. Obviously, many fans were disappointed about this. Many fans are still wondering if Moxley's going to do a meet and greet at StarCast and things like that, but it just sucks that the match itself was canceled. What do you think, AJ?
It does suck. I mean, that's the sum of it. I know a lot of people are saying he's unprofessional, that he went to Japan or this and that. I don't think that's true, and I don't think he's planning on doing G1 every year. I think this is just because he finally left it. And, the replacement's great, and I think it's going to be a better match ring-wise. I don't know. It sucks, but it adds a lot to the Omega and Moxley feud, which we were talking about, but we're going to talk about it again.
Yeah, it definitely does, and I think it's definitely weird if you're blaming Moxley for doing the G1. I mean, this is an opportunity that he may never get again.
Yeah.
It's obviously there for him. Who expects to have an injury like this just pop back up and be this serious? So I don't really blame him. I totally understand the idea of wanting to do the tournament and wanting to be involved in the show. So, I mean, it's not like he wanted this to happen. Obviously, he's not going to want to miss out on All Out and everything that's coming from this show. So, anyone who has that hot take really needs to relax. But speaking of the Omega promo and his feud with Moxley, you're 100% right. If you haven't watched the latest episode of Being the Elite, I strongly suggest you do that as soon as you can. At least check out Kenny Omega's promo on Jon Moxley, because the promo that Omega gave, if it was natural the way that they presented it, it's so crazy, because Omega on the cup of everything just gave them probably the hottest promo of this year. So, what did you think of the promo?
It was great. He just destroyed him. He went full heel, and I still love him. And I don't know, I'm really excited to see them wrestle now, because really there wasn't a lot. I mean, okay, yeah, he attacked him, then he attacked him back, and it was very, 50-50 booking, and that's fine. It's two big stars, so you don't need to put a whole lot into it, but you should, and now they have it, It's total luck. It's not like, I don't know if it's luck, but it all worked out really, really well.
Yeah, it's some type of weird fate. If you could put a positive spin on an injury, they absolutely did that here with the way that Omega reacted in the promo that Omega gave. It was just crazy. As a fan listening to it, I was like, damn, and it just kept getting better. And he consistently, and he addresses the fact that he's going a little harsh on someone who got injured and it was an accident. And just the way that he addressed that, and then still was like, yep, I don't give a shit. You should have been there, and I really don't care if you come back. Omega just and that's something that American fans have needed, was a really strong Omega promo, because I've always felt that Omega was good on the mic, but him in New Japan, obviously he presented himself in a different way. His vocal style was different.
Audience.
Everything was a little different. So the way he did this, it was just wow. It blew me away. It's a lot like when Cody gave his promo, and that blew me away. It's a lot the same right there, and that's what a company needs to continue to grow, especially right now, is people who can cut promos and really get the fans engaged based off of a promo.
Yeah, absolutely, and you're spot on. It's exactly like Cody, and you're right. He's speaking to a different audience, and he's aware of that, and he's adjusting to that. And I was pretty sure that he wouldn't be, over the top anime Kenny Omega, but I'm glad that he's definitely not.
Yeah, and then speaking of just good promos that are really helping establish feuds in AEW, Chris Jericho gave a great promo at the end of that episode of Being the Elite, and that was an interesting thing, them pacing Being the Elite so well this week for once with promos that you would usually see on Road 2, so I almost wonder if they passed those on to Being the Elite or what they did, but either way, the Jericho promo on Adam Page and talking about how he has to win and he has to get the championship, otherwise the story of Jericho is over, was just so fantastic to me, and it was something that I really enjoyed as a fan, and I'm glad to see Jericho continue to deliver as another guy who can just give great promos for this company, and that's something they really will benefit off of. I think in the grand scheme of things, both companies have great talent, but AEW is allowing their guys to speak and just go off, and it's great.
1,000,000%, yeah. And it's done leaps and bounds more than, I think, honestly, just these promos where, like you said, they're just going off cuff, they're just talking, and they're just letting them talk, have done more for these angles than any of the hype videos or the Road 2 build-up. I'm not saying those aren't good, I'm just saying it's exactly what wrestling needs.
Exactly, and just Jericho, the way that he made Adam Page almost sound like more of a star in this one promo than they've done the whole time, talking about how despite the fact you're one of the best wrestlers and stuff. It's like, I've never really had that feeling about Adam Page, despite me really wanting to buy into them pushing him as the main guy and really wanting to believe in him because he's like a likable looking guy and he's nice and it's a something fresh. It's not Kenny. It's something fresh within this group. So Adam Page has always been someone that I've supported, but at the same time, I've never seen him as someone that's like giving 5-star matches or 4-star matches.
He hasn't been doing anything.
And exactly that. Over the past however many months, he hasn't done much. Even in New Japan, he was more of like a background guy. Yeah. So this is his opportunity to shine. Jericho gave him a really good rub, and I think that benefited him really well.
Yeah, no, 100%. Jericho is a pro at putting people over and getting you interested in a match, and this just goes to show it. My only gripe is I wish they did this like 3 weeks ago, but I'm not going to keep beating that dead horse.
Yeah, but I agree. I think that they should have had more, like we said yesterday, but didn't get on the recording. We should have had better pacing. They should have had a week of Spears and Rhodes, and then a week of Jericho and Page, and then back and forth, rather than it seems almost like we got 3 weeks of one and then 3 weeks of another. It's a weird way to pace everything and a weird way to get everything. But in terms of that, we also got an Adam Page interview this week. He got an interview with Jim Ross where they actually presented it the way I wanted them to present the Shawn Spears interview. And I think had they done that with the Spears interview, it would have been much better. But whatever. But Adam Page, he gave a pretty good interview, and I think he did a pretty decent job at establishing himself. There were some awkward points of it, like Jim Ross being like, "Oh, so I heard through the grapevine that your parents are gonna be there," and I'm just like, "Who cares?"
They did do that, didn't they?
Yeah, well, and it's something that they've been. I don't know if that's gonna be something they involve in the match because they've promoted it heavy, man.
Oh, you can't let your parents down. They've never been on this plane. They're gonna see you wrestle.
Yeah, because they did that eating catering or whatever, eating house. What's the word, AJ? Eating food in the hotel room.
Oh yeah. The God, what is it called? Room service.
Yeah, eating room service in the hotel room with Adam Page and the Young Bucks, and they're sitting there talking about how his family's going to be there too. And I wonder if that's something that they're going to make a prominent theme within this match, or because that's weird. It's a little bit, but they could do something interesting with it, I guess. But I don't know. It's just something weird that I've noted that they've been paying attention to. But the interview itself was after that point it got a lot better, and towards the end, Adam Page really started to establish why I should believe in him as a potential champion. But it's also weird because basically everything they've done, that eating food and this interview and everything, they've basically acknowledged the fact that Page isn't even someone we should believe is a champion.
No, we shouldn't. And
they've acknowleded it right to our face. They're like, you're the underdog.
I guess they're being honest.
They're like, you're the underdog going into this match, and he's like, I like that. But and then in that interview where they're eating, he's talking about, well, this company should have never happened. So who's to say I can't become champion because that should never happen? I'm like, well, these are on two totally different spectrums, dude. These are weird. That's a weird way to put it because the company happened based on the star power of all of these guys. Your star power is growing, but it's not time, and that's been a theme that they've brought up as well. Is that it's too early in his career? It is, and that
it is, yeah. And
the fact that you address it is kind of just dumb to me.
It's just nobody knows who he is, and they have not helped that cause. But okay, I'm gonna.
They've helped it a little bit over if you're tuning into the pay-per-views, but other than that, you're not wrong.
But to end something on a positive, the thing I loved about both these, the Jericho and the Page promo, is just now we have two guys who I really believe, as far as, character, they feel like they have to win a match, and I like that a lot.
Yeah, I think that's a good point too. They've built that story of one of these guys they have to win, and I'll kind of get into my theory of what could happen with that when we go over the match. But let's just jump right into the all-out match card. The buy-in match, the initial match on the pre-show, we have Private Party versus Angelico and Jack Evans. What do you think of this match?
It's going to be great. It's going to be really fast-paced. It's going to be just a perfect way to start the show, which is, I'm hoping that's the very first one that goes on, but we'll see. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I don't know who's going to win, because I think this is just more of a showcase match. Hey, look at these guys, but that's great. That's something they both really need.
Yeah, it's just the showcase of both of these teams is what we really need, and this the buy-in is what's going to be on YouTube. Yeah. That's what should be promoting fans to want to tune into the pay-per-view, and Private Party has done a great job on these buy-in pre-shows over the last couple months, and establishing themselves as a tag team both in the Casino Battle Royale and that Triple Threat Tag Team match. So they've done a great job at really just establishing themselves as a good team.
Yeah. Private Party has really just gone above and beyond my expectations every time I've seen them in the ring, and I didn't even know who they were until 3 months ago. So really good, really excited for this, and obviously Angelico and Jack Evans are two great wrestlers, but not a lot of people in America really know about them. I mean, people know about Jack Evans because if you were a wrestling fan in 2006, you know who Jack Evans is, but they don't really know about this tag team, which has existed for a pretty long time.
Yeah, they've had, and that's exactly the point of these matches, is just to establish these two relatively unknown teams. Jack Evans, like you said, someone that is relatively well known to independent wrestling fans, but unless you're keeping up with Lucha Underground, you haven't really known that these two were teaming, and unless you're really deep into the independent wrestling scene, you haven't known much about Private Party, and that's something they've acknowledged, and that's the point of these matches, so it's cool to get introduced to these two superstars. We also continue the introduction of the Joshi women as we have Rio versus Hikaru Shida.
Yes.
This is another exciting matchup. Just seeing the Joshi continue to have showcase matches, and now a singles match finally between these two. Rio's got a chance to continue to shine. Hopefully this has some type of championship implications or something, AJ.
I really, really hope so. And moreover, I'm just excited that they're finally putting two Joshi women in, or Joshi wrestlers, on a one-on-one match, because that's what I've wanted. I really believe this could steal the show, given how much time they get, and it's been a very, very long time. I can't really think of anything really recent that you've seen a Joshi match, even in Japan, in front of a big arena where people can really go crazy and really get immersed in the match, and this is a really big chance for women's wrestling in general to show, hey, this is as good or better.
Yeah, and depending on where they place it on the card, it has a great opportunity to really steal the show. If as long as it comes on at a good time and the fans are hot and because I
Yeah.
think fans are really open to the Joshi wrestling,
Yep.
and once they see it and they really let it get going, they're like, holy shit, and they become like encapsulated by it. And I think that you have the exact point. If they get like 15 minutes to go and really go out there and put on a stellar match, people are going to be talking about it for days. So
Yeah.
that's something that's really exciting. I'm excited for this match. I hope, like I said, that Rio wins and they sort of just continue to push her as someone
do.
that could be a potential first women's champion.
Absolutely. She would make just the ace of the women's roster because that's what she's been. And I know it feels more like Britt Baker, and it might be, and Britt Baker's been great, but Rio's been on fire. Every match she's been perfect in it.
Yeah, and there's no way they're not behind Rio, at least in some form, just because of how much she's had an opportunity to shine and now getting this opportunity in the first Joshi singles women's match. So, and one of the first singles women's matches in AEW. They've had a couple, but not too many, so. And then another exciting match that they announced this week, we have Luchasaurus, Jungle Boy, and Marco Stunt taking on SCU in a match that was promoted really weird on Being the Elite. While I mentioned that Being the Elite was paced really well, that was because they had a really good promo in the beginning, a really good promo at the end. Everything in between was kind of whack. The promotion of this match was just done in a really weird way. They talked about a dinosaur toy, the Jungle Book, Kaz being at Chuck E. Cheese's, just so many random weird things in a way to promote these three weird guys against SCU. But what do you think of the match? The match has potential to be a show stealer as well.
Great.
So
Yeah, it's gonna be great. Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus have been on fire. We both like Marco Stunt. This was a good chance for people to get acclimated to him. I know he was in the 2v2v2, but
this is a good way to bring him out that makes sense, not just
not
getting
just throw him
involved
in the
for
match.
giggles. Like that was ridiculous.
That was weird. But I don't know. You have a lot of potential, and
I think the crowd reaction for this match is going to be nuts. I think that like Marco and Jungle Boy have that appeal to a young teenage female and just teenage audience in general, that this match is really going to have the potential to be like a pop like huge. Like these guys are gonna, and they're so exciting. And then Luchasaurus is so big that
he's big, and there's not a lot of big people on this roster, and he's not just big, but he's really good.
Exactly. And SCU is really good. They've done a really good job at like putting guys over and making guys look like stars and making them more well known to the All Elite Wrestling audience. So this is going to be a great match. I don't see why it doesn't like perform as a great match. But I think that Luchasaurus, Jungle Boy, and Marco Stunt should probably end up coming out with a win. Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus have been on somewhat of a losing streak, and Jungle Boy himself, he's someone that they promoted almost as would be like an upper mid-card guy early on, and hasn't been able to really catch a victory or a big win to really push him up to that next tier or to really establish him and Luchasaurus as a team that could do something big down the line. So I think this is a good opportunity.
I think the fans just want them to win because they're so likable and they're such a great team. And I don't know if that's going to hurt SCU because they, like you said, they've been putting guys over a lot, and they're definitely a tag team you want to keep in the mix. We were talking a bit about that, I think. But overall, I think it's going to be fine because SCU is number one professionals. They're great. They're veterans, and they can get back in a good main event position relatively easy, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest point is SCU could take a loss here and face the Young Bucks and pick up a win over the Young Bucks at the next pay-per-view, and I wouldn't be that surprised just because of how much SCU has established themselves over the years. They've had so long to build up that credibility, so them putting teams over has done a great thing for the company in general.
Forget Kaz, forget Scorpio Sky. Even 5 years ago I said this, there are two guys in the past maybe 15 years who got over without the WWE. AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels. And so most people are pretty okay if they see Christopher Daniels lose 1 week and then the next week kick ass.
Yeah, exactly. So that's an exciting match to look forward to, but the match that I'm most excited for, the one that I'm looking forward to the most as a fan that's going to be in attendance, Joey Janela versus Jimmy Havoc versus Darby Allin. This match, I'm not sure if it's going to be a hardcore match, but it has hardcore implications. Janela, Havoc, and Darby are all great talents. They all kind of need a win, though.
They all do, and that's what makes this really interesting, because Obviously, you don't want to kill Joey Janela's momentum. Jimmy Havoc has looked bad. And then you have Darby Allin, who went Broadway with Cody. And I don't know what's going to happen, but this could absolutely be the best match on the show. I don't know. There's a lot of opportunity for a lot of things to be the show stealer, but this is one of them. I hope Joey Janela wins, but I really don't know. And we'll get to predictions later, obviously. But, God, it's going to be crazy. And yeah, I mean, we were talking about before, like, oh, is it going to be hardcore? They didn't say it was going to be. Of course it's going to be hardcore. How could it not be? Look at these people. But I'm so excited because they're going to go nuts in this match, aren't they?
Yeah, dude, and I think that the main point that I have to make is Jimmy Havoc needs a win more than anybody else. He's someone who really needs to stand out as a guy in AEW who should be taken seriously because they've promoted him as such, but his matches really haven't indicated that to me.
And honestly, I love Joey Janela, but out of all these three guys, I think if you have anybody who could be proven as a star, you got Jimmy Havoc. More than Joey Janela, and maybe more than Darby Allin. If, like, you want to count on somebody, if I was booking, I'd count on Jimmy Havoc as being the best guy to put at the top.
Not me, but that's cool.
Really?
Nah, I'm putting Janela. Dude, Janela's proven to draw at Mania weekend and everything.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But I'm just saying, Jimmy Havoc is a guy who's been in a few companies.
He also is just like a lanky, skinny, weird-looking dude sometimes. So he's hard. But I guess none of the three have a look that really defines them above the other two. So.
And he can get people to hate him so well, and then people to love him just at the drop of a dime. He's a dependable guy.
Yep, so that'll be an exciting match. Another match that I'm at least a little bit curious about is the Casino Battle Royale. Who do you think is going to come out on top in this match?
God, I mean, I wanted to... Okay, so I said this before. I really believe, and I'm just going to go tinfoil hat, that we have Tully Blanchard in the company. I think AEW's cut a deal with TNA, that they're going to have Tessa come into this Battle Royale and she's going to win. And I really hope that's the case, and if not, Britt Baker.
Well, and the weird thing is if Tessa's involved, I don't see how she doesn't win. I don't see how you're Impact and you let her go into this match and not win, just because they've really established her as a top person just in general, someone that they've had in matches with, like, Sami Callihan and stuff like that, as like a main event. Almost female character who's going up against top male characters. So she's someone that if she's involved in this match, I feel like she has to win. Yeah. But then it becomes a question of, well, who's her opponent? And that's where it's weird. Like, I just really wish they had booked this show the exact same way they did Double or Nothing, if this is how they were going to do it, where they had a number one contender singles match also on the card. Maybe that's something that they have in the books for the show that they're going to announce during the night, but I don't know. I would have rather had it pre-announced if that's what they're going to do.
I just want to say the other thing. The other reason I believe this is because this Casino Battle Royal is set up to have a surprise entrant at the last person, because it's 5-5-5-1. And so I can't think that the last person is just going to be some random woman who's just going to go out and then get...
You never know. The last person in the Casino Battle Royale was Adam Page, so they really haven't given us a historic reason or reference to believe that it's going to be very exciting.
You know what I mean, though. And Adam Page won.
That's fair. But that's weird, too, because if Tessa's going to be the surprise person, you don't want to establish the idea that the last person always wins. So
yeah, I don't want to establish this Battle Royal, though.
Dude, yeah, the Battle Royal, I'm giving them a chance with this one, but if this one's just as bad, it's going to be time to call for it to be over and just do Battle Royals regular, or do like a Rumble or whatever, but what you're doing isn't working.
Yeah.
And then another somewhat exciting match, but also somewhat confusing match. We have the AEW World Tag Team Championship Tournament. It's basically a tournament match, but the winner gets a bye in the first round.
Weird.
We have the Dark Order versus the Best Friends. I love the Best Friends. The Dark Order, this is an opportunity for them to showcase themselves. I feel like outside of that, I don't really feel like this is much. You know, the Best Friends I'm more inclined to like. The Dark Order, they've done nothing for me with these vignettes and these promos and these attacks and shit. It's like, but I guess there's a feud there. But I feel like they didn't even talk about that much.
Yeah, the only people who talked about it were the Best Friends that one time.
Yeah.
And I like the Dark Order, and I like this style of wrestling, and I like this over-the-top, evil villain, but no, they haven't been... It just hasn't been coming across, and it hasn't been coming across to the the crowd was so dead at Fyter Fest when that promo was happening. Nobody cared. Nobody cares about the Evil Unos. Nobody cares about the spooky perverts, and I wish they did, because I like the gimmick. And Stu Grayson is a monster, and he's so good.
They both are really talented superstars. It's just like it didn't get over initially, and they haven't really done anything to change it.
Yeah.
And as a fan, you're just like, okay, whatever. Because it's really hard to get behind a team that you introduced, and you didn't even say a name. You guys didn't even think that far ahead. You didn't even give it to anybody to like have any idea of what to say or what to do. So at that point, you were like, shit.
I think when you have an Undertaker gimmick or a Bray Wyatt gimmick or just a spooky, evil Ultramantis gimmick, you have to have backups if it just falls flat, to be like, because you have a lot of opportunities. It's a cartoon basically, and so you can do whatever the hell you want. You can make it, crazy or up the ante or make blood rain from the sky like Undertaker or whatever. You can do a bunch of crazy stuff, but instead they just keep doing these same promos and these same spooky mask men.
Yeah, but and the main factor that they have to do if they're going to do a gimmick like this is they have to win. There's no way around it. The Dark Order has to win this match, but the Best Friends are a good team to beat, and they've done a good job at establishing like both of these teams have a win under their belt. Both of these teams are established. We should care, and whoever wins should be seen as like a legit team.
You and me love the Best Friends. Everybody loves the Best Friends, and that's why they're doing this, because that's the perfect team to get heat for the Dark Order.
Yeah, that's true too.
They gotta build it up, like you said.
Yeah. So, but otherwise, this should be an interesting match. Maybe not a show stealer, but a really good tag team match, which is what AEW is promoting themselves to be.
That's 3 solid tag team matches on this card, and that's not something you've seen in wrestling, at least in WWE, not usually.
Yeah, exactly. And we also have Cody Rhodes versus Shawn Spears. That's going to be an interesting match, a match that they've promoted super heavily over the last couple of months. But what are your feelings on this match, I guess?
I'm tired. They've talked about it so much. I'm gonna be really excited when it happens. I'm gonna love it whenever the pyro and the ballyhoo starts and the big videos and all the craziness starts. I'm gonna go, yeah, this match is great. This is my favorite match ever, I'm sure. But as of right now, I'm sick and tired of it. They did too many promos and not enough promos for other things, and I don't care. And I love Shawn Spears. How many times have I been on this podcast sucking that Shawn Spears dick, Andrew? I want to know, because
a ton of them, AJ. But yeah,
I'm the guy saying I'm bored, that's a problem.
Yeah, and I think that's the point. Is it's just been a little bit too much of these guys, and maybe more so just Cody. It's something that we've dealt with from basically the beginning, and it's not something that I'm mad about, but it's something I'm a little bit tired of. It's just been the Cody show, and that's where the TV show should come in and help all of that. Because you can't necessarily blame Cody for promoting a show more so around himself when he's the one doing all of the work for it. And same with the Young Bucks on their show. So in that case, I don't really blame them, but we've done a lot of talking about this match. We've done a lot of talking about the build-up. I think that it's going to be a good match and a really interesting match, and I'm excited for the hype video before feuds like this with MJF. We'll have to see if he gets involved in this match as well, because and that is a good way to continue the story. So that's something that I hope they do, and I'm curious to see how they go along with that.
Unless they put him on the card before this, and I don't think they're going to do that to MJF. They're not going to give him a last-minute booking.
This card is already stacked, man. We've covered so many matches already, and then another match we have to cover, the recently announced Kenny Omega versus Pac. What do you think of this match?
This is going to be insane. Absolutely insane, because number one, they have a lot. You know how Kenny Omega is, and you know he's going to be thinking, I do not want to let these people down who were expecting me to wrestle Jon Moxley. And Pac is going to be doing the same stuff. And on that note, these are both two guys who most of their career, they were in Japan, or a good amount of it. And they're going to be way better in ring at connecting with each other and working with each other to be able to say, let's just go and steal the show and put on that 8 billion star match and make everybody lose their shit and not even remember who Jon Moxley is.
Yeah, I think you've got a great point there. Just between these two guys, they're such talented wrestlers, such talented athletes, and the fact that Pac hasn't had a match with AEW technically yet makes this a much more interesting and it's just a match that draws people in. You're wondering, okay, Pac couldn't show up for the first match. Now we've got him for All Out to replace Moxley. It might not be the dream match that people wanted, but it's going to be a stellar match. This match has a potential to be like a 5.5-star match. So, Pac versus Omega, I'm super excited for it. I don't see how Omega comes out with a loss, but at the same time, they're trying to build this whole redemption arc of Omega. So a loss to Pac.
They're talking about no dusty finishes, but if there was ever going to be one, now is the time for Jon Moxley to run in and hit Omega.
Something like that, even just like, you don't want to have Omega look like a geek and just play Moxley's theme and then Omega be like, oh, what's going on? But something where Pac ends up picking up a victory because of Moxley, and then Omega can continue his redemption arc wanting to beat up Moxley or fight Moxley. So
What's so bad about dusty finishes, Andrew?
There's a lot. It becomes overdone, and when you look at the storylines, if we did a dusty finish for all of these storylines that would need one, we'd have at least 2 or 3 on this show.
If you did, but you don't. But like, they're not doing any, and like you don't. All you have to do is not overdo them.
Well, they just don't. They don't do a dusty finish, but they have people like interfere in random shit. So.
Yeah.
And another match that we need to talk about is the Young Bucks versus the Lucha Brothers for the AAA Tag Team Championships and a ladder match. AJ, what are your thoughts on this match? This is a match that we've seen quite a bit. It's a match that we've seen, I don't want to say it's played out, but we've seen the Lucha Brothers versus the Young Bucks a lot.
And we've never seen the Young Bucks lose in AEW, and if
there's ever a time they should, I mean, drop the AAA Tag Team Championships don't need to be a part of AEW anymore,
Nope.
And I don't think they ever needed to be a part of AEW. I think it was a mistake ever involving another company's Tag Team Championships because I don't give a shit about your tournament right now. I don't give a shit about any of the tag team matches that are going on right now because it's supposed to be about this Tag Team Championship that isn't even a part of your company.
I'll sort of play devil's advocate. I thought, hey, if they have the AAA tag title come in and then they have maybe the NJPW US title come in, that's pretty cool. But that obviously didn't work out, and that didn't happen, and now it's just like, well, now it doesn't feel like an international, cool company.
Now it just feels like AAA is your tag team champions or something. It's weird. And it's always been these two teams for this championship. So it's just like repeat match for this championship, repeat match for this championship.
Before at Fight for the Fallen, SCU were saying, we're going to be in the picture of saying we're the best tag team in the world. Not the Young Bucks.
It would have added to this match 100%.
It would have been so good to put them in. And nobody would have been like, why are they in? Because they're Christopher Daniels and Kazarian. Yep. Of course they're in. And I'm so upset because that would make this so much
crazier. And they've just been bouncing these titles back and forth between each other too. Like the Young Bucks won them randomly and then they lost them back, but they didn't lose them back on AEW. They lost them back in AAA. So they've just been going back and forth with these matches, and I'm just over it. I'm kind of tired of it. I don't mind, but
hate Jim Cornette so much. They sure do 50-50 booking like Jim Cornette.
Yeah, it's a little bit and it's weird because it's 50-50, but only within outside of your company.
Yeah, that's even worse because then I haven't seen any of those AAA matches, and I kept meaning to, but I never got around to it.
You got to make the time for it, and they also don't necessarily have it readily available on like their YouTube, so it becomes a little bit of a hassle. So and as a fan, you can't be blamed for that. You can only pay attention to however many companies you have the time for, and wanting. I mean, I don't know. It's not the end of the world.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And most of these guys, Cody, Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega, their fans who are coming over to watch AEW are not coming from AAA. They're coming from New Japan.
Yeah, so I get the idea of wanting to have a championship involved in your company, and you wanted to have, like, you should have just already been working on a way to crown tag team champions by now. Yeah. The idea that we're going into the first month of TV and that's going to be your tag team tournament, it'll probably be wicked exciting then. But for right now, it's like, dude, I'm tired of these tag team matches. Like, you're doing so many tag team matches that make me feel like they mean nothing. Nothing, because none of them are qualifying matches for the tournament, because you don't want to eliminate a team from even being involved in the tournament because you don't have enough teams for that. So you need to have every team possibly to be involved, but you're doing weird shit like, you win a bye in the first round, but this is literally just like a first round match. Like,
this match would be a lot better if you started this feud, like this blood feud,
Well,
when
it's
you had
impossible
TV.
because this feud happened a long time ago.
I know.
Like, it's been going.
But if you take it and put it on TV to obviously new people who have not seen them,
Yeah.
and then you give it time to really start and really make it clear that these two people have killed each other and they're going to keep killing each other, and it's just fate that they keep fighting.
It's just weird that
would
they
be a lot
blew their
better.
load on this
Yep.
feud so hard, so early. Like, they tried
And
to really
it's not the
establish this
worst
as
thing.
the feud instead of. I mean, whatever.
Out of mistakes you can make, blowing your load real hard on a feud you know.
Well, I just hope the Young Bucks
matches will
lose this
work.
match. Otherwise, I'm gonna be bitching.
Yeah.
Because
And
then
here's
it's
positive.
annoying, and I'm tired of the AAA Tag Team Championships
Yep.
being hot-shotted between teams. And they probably did this as a ladder match so the Young Bucks didn't have to take a pin, and they could lose. the Tag Team Championship.
Yeah.
I really
You're
just
going
figured it
full
out. Like,
Triple H.
dude, yeah, man, come on. Whatever, it's fine.
Okay,
Keep them strong.
here's a positive.
Keep them strong on AEW, dude. They will not take a pin on AEW probably until the finals of that tournament at best.
You think?
I'm calling
God,
it
you're
right now.
Yeah, you're right.
Yep.
You're right.
Until the
But-
finals of that tournament at best, and even then they could win. They
Because
will not
I'm
eat a
also
pin.
upset, and I'm trying to not be that upset. I'm gonna say a positive. Nick Jackson is gonna do some crazy ass ladder bumps.
And I don't blame them too bad for it. It's not like there's a ton of established teams that can be out here beating the Young Bucks every month, but the Lucha Brothers
That's
are a team
true.
that maybe should have done that by now. Or
Yeah.
had some type of, like, even in the six-man
Honestly, they
tag
should
or
have
something.
stopped them. They should have just.
They should have won the six-man tag, at the very least.
Because at that point, everybody who's watching all elite wrestling knows who the Young Bucks here. They're practically
Mhm.
there for you. And so if you have the Lucha Brothers come in and just destroy them every time, that would look
And
a lot better for the Lucha Brothers.
there's a storyline reason behind it too. They don't wrestle as much as the Lucha Brothers have, and they could have went that route, but they didn't. I get not wanting to beat your top stars early, but
But everybody knows that it's not like you're losing out on the Young Bucks. And you can just make the Young Bucks, that would make this match way better, because then it's the
it's
Young Bucks
really
going,
tough,
we have
man.
to
Because
win.
I agree with you, but then you think about, like, if you're tiering the level of stardom of tag teams in AEW, it's like Young Bucks. Then in the next tier
You're
we
right.
have the Lucha Brothers, and then it's like
SCU.
SCU right in there with them, of course. But then after that, it's like a power gap, man.
Yeah, that's it.
Of guys that are relatively unknown,
I'm
best
worried
friends
about that
even,
tournament.
they're relatively unknown. I mean, they have a chance to establish teams, and they've done a good job at establishing teams. But, like, maybe a team like Private Party or Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus should have
Yeah.
been racking up on wins going into the
Absolutely.
tournament, so we could feel like, oh, that's a team that's going to be a force to reckon with in the tournament.
Jungle
Which
Boy and Luchasaurus still have that
that's where I
chance.
guess the Dark Order is going to be. That's the team to be reckoned with.
Yeah, and they're a great team ring-wise. My God, they might be better than like most of them just in the ring. Because Stu Grayson and pair him with, are they still? I forget what they're calling him, and that's terrible.
Evil
but
Uno, I think.
Okay, I was gonna say like, is he still Evil Uno because they're not the Smash Brothers? Anyways, Evil Uno, they've been great, and I know some people are like, oh, Evil Uno doesn't look. It doesn't matter how he looks. He's great.
And it would figure that we would talk about this match for so long. But I just have such strong feelings about, like, the idea of this match continuing to happen and this feud continuing to happen so heavily and prominently. It's like,
It's gotta stop here. Though, right?
but, I'm not gonna lie. I'm stoked to see this match. This match
it's
is gonna
gonna be
be
insane.
bonkers. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be super awesome.
There's some Nick Jackson and
but when you
ladders.
look at the booking around it and you look at everything around it, it's just like, especially as I realize, like, yep, they're not gonna eat a pin. They won't eat a pin until the finals of their tournament.
You're right.
And they should have just taken one by now, man. That's what I'm saying. In the six-man, one of them could have taken a pin off of a couple of, like, big moves in a row, and we're establishing the Lucha Brothers more on our TV. On our TV, we haven't seen the Lucha Brothers do anything. Nothing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they won that match against SCU, so I'm crying, but, you know, I'm
No, you're
overreacting
right,
for
though.
sure, but at the same time, it's like, come on.
I don't think
like,
you're overreacting. I think that's all really valid, but I'm just hoping that they're gonna get their
once
legs
weekly
and they're gonna
TV
win.
happens and stuff, we'll have
Yeah.
time to establish more teams and whatnot. But it's a little rough when we're like,
It's
oh, this
very
is the
rough
John
right now.
Cena of tag teams,
It is it
without a
absolutely
question.
is.
And there's no one else in this company that feels like a John Cena of anything. So
Yep.
let's jump right into the main event, though. The Hangman Page versus Chris Jericho for the AEW World Championship. a match that we've been wanting to be promoted more, and over the last few weeks has been promoted more. Jericho and Paige have both given great promos, both done a lot to try and establish this match to make it mean more. Who do you think's going to win? What are your thoughts on the match? I mean, we've discussed it a little bit, but what are you thinking?
I think Adam Page is going to win, but I don't think he should. Because
That's weird. I agree, but it's weird.
It's weird. That's exactly. I don't know how this match is going to play out. I don't know if this is going to be... Okay, I know it's going to be at least good. Because Jericho's not going to go in there. Well, he might. I mean, he can't control how good Adam Page is. Because I don't know.
No, I think these two are going to put on a good match together. I think that Jericho helps make someone who's so athletically gifted like Page 100%. I think that it's going to be, but I have a lot of hope for it, and it's got to be. It's the main event, dude. You cannot do a 3-star match on your main event. You cannot for your championship on a show that's going to have 5-star matches unless you're telling everyone on that card WWE style to tone it down and not go all out. Then this match cannot be 3 stars. It cannot be any. It has to be like a 4-star, one of the most exciting matches on the card. And I think we'll get that. I think that's something we'll get, because if it's not, then the show's going to end where you're wanting the Moxley thing at the end again. You know what I mean? Maybe not with Moxley, but with somebody coming out to challenge for the championship, which they might do New Japan style. You know, when a champion wins his match or wins the championship, they have someone come out and just do that stare down, and that's something they should do to establish who's going to face the champion on the first show, because that's something they've promoted for the first show on TV as a world championship match. So
I think it's going to be good. I don't expect it to be bad.
I think it could end in a dusty finish, though. That was something I was thinking about, because both men are talking about, I have to win, I need to win, I have to win.
Yeah.
I was thinking about, you remember that big warlord-looking guy that we talked about like 10 episodes ago, who they signed, and he was a monster-looking dude? I see him, like, for some odd reason, I thought about him the other day, and I see him or someone big like him getting involved and being like a Hangman Page henchman or a Chris Jericho henchman, and being like their bodyguard to help win this match, because Hangman was asking for the Bucks to come out there and be at ringside with him. So I'm thinking, if Hangman's in this match and Jericho has some big ass dude to come interfere and help him keep the story of Jericho going, then the Young Bucks should have been there to help him, and it creates like an interesting dynamic there.
That'd be cool. It wouldn't, and yeah, there's not really a good heater right now. I'm pretty sure we're using Dusty Finish incorrectly, so I'm sorry for you smart mics who are screaming. But also, yeah, that would be cool. If you were right about this, you're gonna be so. You should clip this and put it on Twitter.
I don't know if and who knows if I'm right. I could be told, but just the way that they're promoting it, of I have to win, I have to, like, something dirty. I feel like has to happen. So, but then maybe you have something like that happen and Adam Page overcomes it and still wins. That's some Roman Reigns booking right there. But that would be.
Oh God!
What would you think about that? I don't know.
I would hate it.
I feel like in the moment live, I would be all about it. But then when you look at it from like a storyline perspective, it depends on who the guy helping Jericho is. Of course, if it's like someone smaller or something, it's a lot more believable. But if it's that big brolic dude or someone like that, like I'm talking about, you're like, damn, how does he do that?
Yet.
At least his knee. Well, he's been Superman, dude, with his knee and everything. So
I guess, but I don't know. I don't know what to think about this. I don't know how to feel about this. I really hope Jericho...
I have high hopes for the whole card, though. And the thing about it is, going into Double or Nothing, I really wanted a big surprise, like at the end of the show or in the middle of the show. By the end of the show, before Moxley came out, I was so satisfied with the show that I forgot that I wanted a surprise. Yeah, and looking at this card and going over this card, I feel like I could end up the same way. Because looking at the main event, you're kind of like, how are you going to end the show with just Jericho or just Hangman? Like, how are you going to end it like that? Is someone going to come out and challenge? I'm like, that's what you really want. You really, especially being in Chicago, you know what fans really, really want, but it's not going to happen. So you have to, so even more so this match has to deliver. That's where the doing events in Chicago is a little bit sketchy right now.
I know, right?
But like and I don't blame them. You have to go back to where everything all blew up and all started. But when you think about it, doing an event for AEW in Chicago right now, it's just, it sucks as a fan, because even fans are like, oh, it's gonna, and it's not, man. Unless it does. And if it does, I will gladly be on here like, I was there. Like, he finally got me back. Yeah. But I mean, in the grand scheme of things, that's the weird part about this being the main event to me, and that's where not having Kenny in your main event is going to be interesting.
Yeah, that's a word for it. I don't know. I don't know what to. I really.
I always am willing to give them the benefit of the doubt and watch it play out.
I don't want to say, oh, this is gonna be bad. Oh, this is gonna be great
because they haven't ended a pay-per-view. Well, Fight for the Fallen ended kind of weird, and I really wasn't totally behind that show. But outside of that,
sucked, dude.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't the end of the world, but it was just the production, especially at the end. You were like, what the hell are they doing? So they have to end All Out in a much better way than that. I mean, that's something to think about too. I mean, Fight for the Fallen was so forgettable that I almost forgot how bad that ending was. But that's your last pay-per-view ending was so bad.
And you're going in to weekly live TV
in a month too. That's the thing that sucks. That's what sucks to me is it's not. You don't have this pay-per-view and then tomorrow's your show or Wednesday's your show. You have this pay-per-view and there's like a whole month of promoting, and you can make essentially your first show like a pay-per-view because you'll be able to promote every card on the show and all of these surprises.
Why are they doing live right away? I think that's
they have to do live, and that's what it is in television today, man. The live sports is what moves numbers and moves the needle.
I'm not saying make it live, don't make it live ever. I'm saying for the first month and a half, tape it. And then go live. Because if you do that, there has been no successful wrestling company ever
that's what's going to be weird.
Jump to live.
They will struggle. There's going to be, and I get why you bring that up now as we talk about the end of Fight for the Fallen with the big mistakes there. You don't want to see that repeated on live TV, especially. But I don't know, man. And we'll definitely. I think that's a conversation we should mark for later to discuss at a later point. But you're not wrong. But I think you're wrong.
I get it.
I mean, I don't think that they should not go live. But they should not go live, I guess, when you think about it. But they'll be all right. You have to believe, and that's where having a guy like Jericho and even Moxley will be ready to go, so he'll be TV ready by then. They have enough guys that were WWE guys that can handle work in the TV and work in the production. And I think that's where the first probably month or two we'll see a lot of Jericho, a lot of Cody, a lot of Moxley, a lot of these guys who have a history of working at actual live TV setting. And then they'll incorporate these guys that'll have to build up. And I think that's where Hangman is going to have to step up.
Yeah.
He's the biggest one. But overall, like I said, I'm super excited for All Out. We always have a lot of bitter things to say because we overanalyze and overthink things, which is why we should shout out that one dude who said we never bitch about anything AEW does on Twitter because boy is he wrong. But that's not to say that this show isn't going to be insane. I'm so excited to be able to go to this show and be there live and be a part of StarCast and everything. So as a fan, I'm pumped. And there's nothing to be disappointed about there. AJ, you want to go ahead and plug anything you want to plug before we wrap up the show?
You can follow me on Instagram at AJ_TheFitzy, and you can follow me on Twitter at BigMatchAJ.
And you can follow me on Twitter at AllEliteAndy. You can also follow the podcast on Twitter at AllElitePodcast. We'll be at StarCast this week giving away a bunch of little no gift cards. I'm lying. A bunch of business cards that will have a number on them. Each number will indicate a drawing, and then we'll do a drawing next week live on the podcast. Live to tape on the podcast for a Funko Pop giveaway and a t-shirt. I'm also going to list the lineup of what I plan on doing for the giveaway of the fantasy game that we have running. I know I've been meaning to announce that every episode, but I haven't really broken everything down as to what I'm going to give away. I have a bunch of Funko Pops, a bunch of t-shirts, a bunch of hats. So basically, if you win the fantasy game, you're probably going to get your pick between, you'll get a Funko Pop, you'll get your pick between a hat and a couple of choice t-shirts and things like that. So that's an exciting thing to look forward to, especially if you're someone who was involved in the fantasy game early on. We have the numbers updated on the website. You can check that out. And I also think that me and AJ might do a little bit of a quick write-up this week and throw it on the website as well, just talking about our actual full predictions and thoughts on the show. If AJ has the time, that's something I think I would like to do, just so that way you guys can have a quick read of what our basic actual thoughts are on who we think will win the show, on the show. So
keep up with that.
Yeah, and just keep up to date on everything we've got going on the Twitter, and we're going to keep updating everything in the website. So thanks, guys, for tuning in. Until next time, see ya.
Bye.